up Champions League medals. Jonathan Greening's got one. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
You're welcome back. Thursday's Off the Ball. Nathan with you until 10 o'clock. We've Brian O'Driscoll coming up after 8 on the Lions selection. Grace O'Flanagan as well to talk Irish hockey between 8 and 9 in the football show, where we'll keep a close eye on the Europa League semi-finals between now and 9 and 10. But it's 7:30, so John Giles is with us. Evening, John.
Evening, Nathan.
So we got ourselves an all-English Champions League final. Chelsea against Manchester City. Quite a job Thomas Tuchel has done at Chelsea since he came in.
Oh, big job, Nathan. He seems to be one of those lads that's hard to please. You know, you see some managers on the line and somebody misses a chance and it's unlucky in that, and he's jumping around. I think he demands a lot, and he's done a big job there.
What did Don Revie do when somebody missed a chance?
He wasn't too bad, Nathan. He was okay. If you weren't trying and doing the simple things, he would give you right telling off. But if somebody missed a chance, for example, and they were doing their best, he was okay.
N'Golo Kante was pivotal for Chelsea last night. It's interesting, they played Jorginho again, say, as the deepest lying midfielder, and it was something that Maurizio Sarri had done and that Frank Lampard had done, moving Kante maybe out of what we had seen him do at Leicester and in the first few years at Chelsea, and it never seemed to work. But last night and under Tuchel, it certainly seems to be working. Yeah,
and it took him a bit of time to come around to him as well, Nathan. I think that Kante is brilliant. His attitude, if you're looking at anybody to look at him as a professional footballer or a young lad, look at Kante. He's as honest as the day is long. Doesn't do anything for himself. Gets on with the job. Never gets into trouble. He's terrific. I love Kante, and I love watching him. And to be fair to Tuchel, you have to get to know the players yourself. And I think he left him out a couple of times. And I think even under Frank Lampard, they played him on, say, right-hand side of midfield. And once you're on right-hand side of midfield or left-hand side of midfield or right wing, you're restricted, Nathan, to those positions. Whereas with Kante, with the energy that he has and the attitude he has, you don't restrict him to any position. You put him in the middle of the field, and he's in the right-hand side of midfield when he should be. He's in the left-hand side of the field when he should be. So if you restrict him to one position, you're losing at least 50% to the team.
Yeah.
So what he's done now, and obviously it's a sign of a good manager. He sees what he has, and he's playing him, and he shone last night. He's terrific. I'm not that keen. I'm not that sure about Jorginho.
Yeah.
He's a bit sideways passing for my liking, but he does complement Kante. Well, I think any midfield player would complement Kante. He's the man. And he was great last night, Nathan, I think.
Yeah, Jorginho is in that more restricted role. He just sort of sits there and is neat and tidy. Kante...
he doesn't have to do much, you see. Once Kante is in and you have him in that role, then he wouldn't do any more than that anyway.
Yeah.
Jorginho. So it's Kante that does the really important stuff. He's defending, he's attacking, he's all over the place. He's brilliant.
When you watch him last night, is he doing a lot more in the role that Tuchel has him playing in than he was, say, even when he was with Leicester and winning the title?
I don't think so, Nathan. I think he might have different players around him. But in his early days at Chelsea, when they won the league and that there a couple of years ago, he was playing in the middle of the field. Now, I can understand Tuchel doing what he's doing, because you have to find the players out. You have to see what they can do. And sometimes it's easy to underrate or underestimate a player like Kante until you actually put him into the position that he's best suited to. And then you get the real stuff. I thought he was. I think he's brilliant at any times. He doesn't play brilliantly every time he plays, but his attitude... when you talk about professional football or anything, the first thing is that attitude. What's his attitude like? And if you look at any player I'd have anyways, you want to say, look at this lad. See what attitude is like. There's nothing but try his best all the time for the benefit of the team, all the time.
Obviously a very different type of player to, say, Luka Modric, who he would have been up against. But in terms of his talents on the ball, how good is he?
Kante?
Yeah.
Well, it wouldn't be as good as Modric at his best. Modric at his best. I think Modric, unfortunately, has gone past his best, Nathan. I think I love Modric as well. He's been a great player. But no, he wouldn't be... I'd say he'd have more energy. He would win the ball a lot more than Modric, but he wouldn't be quite as good on the ball as Modric. He wouldn't be as creative, but he would do things that Modric couldn't do. Obviously, he'd win the ball better. He'd get around the pitch a lot more. And that's what makes him great. And Modric was different in that he wouldn't be in the tackles but what he did was in a more creative sense.
Yeah. I was asking the question last night after the game, was he the best midfielder in the Premier League over the past 10 years? Now, he's only there 6 years, but when you compare him to the other contenders who are probably De Bruyne, David Silva, Yaya Toure, is he in that mix? Would you have him above them?
Kante,
yeah.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, definitely. For his energy and his go. I think he's more of a midfield player, an all-round midfield player than De Bruyne, for example, Nathan. You know, I don't think De Bruyne is an all-round midfield player. He's a very, very talented lad. And I think I might have said this before in your programme, that, you know, the position that he was in the other night, where he has less responsibility in midfield, I think it's his best position. Yeah. So he certainly wouldn't be doing anything near what Kante does in the way he specialises. And obviously Kante couldn't do some of the things that De Bruyne does. You know, he wouldn't score goals like him. He wouldn't make goals like him in the position that he's in. But if you're talking about, you know, dominating in the middle of the field or help to dominate a partner in the middle of the field, he'd be your man, Kante.
We seem to spend every week now talking about another brilliant young English player, and Mason Mount. His performances over the last few weeks are right up there. Maybe not quite at the level of Phil Foden, but not far behind. They've got a heck of a squad heading to the European Championship this year. Mount as a player, how good is he, and what is it about him that has put him in a position? He looks like he's one of the first names on the team sheet now.
I think he's very good, Nathan. He's one of the few players now, and you see at the top level, who can actually beat a player. You know, dribble past the player. Foden can do that as well, and that's, I think, what makes them stand out. But you know, Mount is quick. He can go past people. It's like when any team, when you get on top and you're feeding the attackers, like, they have to do something then, you know. And what you don't want is for them to pull out of it and start all over again. And that's why I talk about him as a dribble. Once he gets it in that forward position, now he's doing his job, going past people. Foden does it as well. But I'd say Mount would be ahead of him at the moment. He's probably a little bit older. Yeah. But no, I think he's the real McCoy. Very good.
It seems they're definitely doing something right in the English academies at the moment. When you look at the players who are coming through, whether it's Foden, Mount, Jack Grealish, Jude Bellingham, they are developing the right type of footballer.
Well, it looks like it, Nathan. Maybe there's more kids playing. Maybe at that schoolboy level, I think it would be where the schoolboys are either made or finished.
Yeah.
With bad coaching, you know. Lads are like, when the lads are coming in at 10, 11, 12, 13, that's why you know you have to have good coaching, because you got a really, really talented lad like Mount. When he was younger, probably dribbling past people, but not always going past them. Now, I've seen it before in coaching, where the time he doesn't go, what are you doing? What do you think you're doing? Don't be trying to do that. Instead of encouraging them to say, okay, next time, go past them. You know, I don't know what's happening in English coaching, but whatever's happening, it seems to be working, Nathan, as you say, with the young lads coming through. That's the proof of the pudding, you know.
Timo Werner got a goal last night. He has cut a frustrated figure, to put it mildly, over the last while. I think the shoulders were dropping over the last few weeks. It wasn't the most difficult goal in the world to score, but it was an important goal nonetheless. Is he the future for Chelsea? Do you think he has enough about him that he could become the maybe 20-25 goal a season striker they need? I
think he's capable of it. With his physique, he's quick. He's got all those attributes. Now he's got to show his temperament. You know, he's missed a few chances. His confidence has gone down. And like in my experience with strikers, they can't afford to be too fragile mentally, Nathan. Actually, they have to be the other way around, where if you miss a chance, tough.
Yeah.
I'll get the next one. Or whatever way they want to think. There's so many strikers in different ways. And, in my opinion, my time playing football, I played with Alan Clark and Mick Jones, both totally different types of characters. Mick Jones was quite a sensitive lad, very, very good player, terrific lad. But if he missed a chance, it would get to him. Or if you said to Mick, come on, Mick, his head would drop a bit, Now, you got Alan Clark. If Alan Clark missed a chance, and he said, come on, Alan, he'd tell you to F off. but if there was a chance between the two of them coming up, you'd back Alan Clark to score.
Right.
They all have different temperaments. I mean, Jimmy Greaves, I played against Jimmy Greaves a lot, who was a genius, absolute genius, Nathan. He scored 50 goals more than Alan Shearer. There's no records for that now.
Well, it happened before 1992. I'm not sure it counts, John.
No, it doesn't count, no. So he was a genius, but on the field, he always gave the impression, and when I played against him, he wasn't too bothered, Nathan.
Yeah.
And apparently that's the way he was. In other words, if I miss it, tough. Some you get, some you don't get. But he didn't miss many. But if he missed one, like what I'm saying, like another lad, Ian Wright. Do you remember Ian Wright?
Yeah.
Playing for Arsenal. Now, I always noticed when Ian played for England, he seemed to be very nervous, Nathan. He wasn't the same player. There was too much pressure on him because he came into the game late, which might have something to do with it, and thought, God, I'm in the England team. Now I have to score goals. And I used to find him very, very tense playing for England in relation to Arsenal. And it happens with players, they all have a different approach to it. But the basic thing they need is, I'll score, I'm confident about scoring. If I miss one, tough, I'll get the next one. Whereas the lads who are not doing it, they miss it, and they're getting uptight. And I think that's what's happened with Werner. I'm just trying to explain what I think has happened to him there. That he's uptight. There was a couple of chances, not last night or the other night. It was another match you see him, and it's nearly tap-ins, and it's going under his legs, because it means he's tensed up too much before the ball comes to him.
And when you look back at, say, the difference then between an Alan Clark and a Mick Jones, like Mick Jones, would he have gone through long spells where things just weren't falling for him?
Yeah, but no, Mick was good. He was a good goal scorer.
Yeah.
He would go through more spells than Alan Clark did. Do you know what I mean, Nathan? Because Mick was a smashing lad. He was very sensitive, quite a sensitive lad, Alan Clark wasn't. And I'm only explaining there's lads I played with, their attitude to scoring. Scoring is the hardest thing in the game, especially if your confidence is not there, Nathan. You have to have that attitude. Well, some I win, some I lose, or I'll get the next one, whatever it might be. Some have it, some don't. And at the moment, Werner scored a good goal the other day, and I know it was only a knock-in, but at least he got in, he read it well to get into that particular position. Because a lot of goal scorers, whether it be Jimmy Greaves or some of these great scorers, Jimmy Greaves scored very few goals outside the box, Nathan.
Yeah, he was just
you can
right
say,
place, right
Jimmy
time.
Greaves again, that was only a little tap-in. Made it look that way. Even the simplest of chances, we've seen Werner with the simplest of chances, Nathan, and he's knocked it by the keeper, or he's knocked it wide, or he's miskicked it totally. So you need, if he gets a couple of goals, scores another couple of goals now, one after the other, that confidence can come back. But it's not a good sign when the confidence goes.
Yeah, and I guess for the longer term future at Chelsea, they need somebody that they can rely on that won't have those dips.
Well, that's true, but they have a few players, as we know, Nathan. And they spent a lot of money on them. I mean, Havertz, isn't it? No, I might not be Havertz. Yeah. Cicic, is it Cicic?
Yeah, Ziyech, yeah.
Pulisic.
Christian Pulisic, yeah.
And Mount can get a few, but there's four of those lads they spent quite a bit of money on, and they're young, Nathan. They're young. Some of them their first season, and it's not easy sometimes in the first season. But certainly if they get two of those going, they have Giroud there if they need him, who scored more goals probably than any of them. But if they get two out of that lot coming good before the end of the season, Nathan, they could well win the Champions League.
Well, they'll play Manchester City in the final. They play them this weekend in the Premier League. If City win it, they'll win the Premier League title. A player who maybe, I won't say goes unnoticed, because he was with N'Golo Kante at Leicester. He was Footballer of the Year at the time, and he's always been a brilliant talent, but there's so many of them at Manchester City. Riyad Mahrez had a big game against Paris Saint-Germain. Like it's hard to think of many players in the Premier League whose close control is as good as Mahrez.
No, I think he's got his confidence going as well. And I mean, he's playing on the right wing, as we know, as a left-footed player, and he's really come into his own. You know, because I think there's a lot of pressure on lads playing for Manchester City, where if they don't do well, they can be out of the side very, very quickly. But he's definitely grown into it, especially this season. Obviously, he's got a couple of goals behind him, but he's playing with that confidence to score the goals. I mean, even the goals that scored the other night, they weren't easy, you know, and he's making them look easy, like all good players do. But it looks like he's grown into the Manchester City team and deserves, and in his own head I'm talking about now, deserves to be there.
Yeah. What did you make of the City performance overall?
I wasn't that impressed overall, considering they won, Nathan. I thought in the first half against Paris Saint-Germain, the first half hour, they weren't good at all. And now I expect City to be into them. It didn't happen. And Paris Saint-Germain had a few chances, actually, Nathan. There was one in particular where the goalkeeper, Edison, played it out to Gundogan. Is that his name?
Yeah, Gundogan, yeah.
And he lost it, and Di Maria took it off him. And Di Maria had a great chance with his left foot to chip it into the back of the net, with the goalkeeper was out of the goals, and made a mess of it. And then they hit the crossbar, and it wasn't City getting tight on them at all. But the game was changed, as we know, actually from the kick out and the goalkeeper, brilliant ball down the left hand side to the left back, and finished up with Mahrez scoring out against the run of play, I thought. So I wasn't impressed with them, Nathan. Really in the first half, although they did score, and in the second half, Paris Saint-Germain were professionally dreadful. They lost their head, kicking people. I think they had 4 players, Nathan, either red card. Well, one was red card, and 3 others yellow carded. They lost it totally instead of sticking and playing professionally and trying to get back in the game. So the chances they had in the first half, they didn't take, and it was all City after that.
All our football coverage on Off the Ball is with thanks to Paddy Power. For information on responsible gambling, visit gamblecare.ie. You mentioned the Ederson pass for the goal. I'd say you haven't seen too many keepers who have a range of passing like that.
None, Nathan. Actually, didn't he play one last year?
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
one of the matches to the centre forward, absolutely brilliant. I forget which match it was, but he's capable of doing that. But what I found about, well, just looking back on the downside for City, Nathan, they've nobody really in the middle of the field to control the game. You know, I thought Fernandinho the other night was absolutely brilliant at what he does.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of Gundogan. I think he's okay. When he was scoring goals, obviously he deserved to be in the team.
Yeah.
I'm talking now as a midfield player, Nathan. He's very predictable, in my opinion, of getting it and passing it sideways and not, but nothing that can get a grip of the game and make a pass that's going to really, really create. When they play against, even when they play against Chelsea, I can't see them with what they have there controlling the middle of the field, to be quite honest. I know it's matches ahead, you don't really want, but I don't see them in that position. Having anybody in that position.
Bernardo Silva can't do that.
No, he plays more forward. He's very good as well. He can dribble, he can beat people, he can do what he's good at. I don't think De Bruyne is capable of doing that in the middle of the field, to be quite honest, to control it. He does very, very good things at different times, like he did the other night, but he's not going to be controlling the game. I mean, for example, I think if they played Chelsea tomorrow, I think Chelsea would control, with the teams that they had out the other night, City, I think Chelsea would control the middle of the field, Nathan.
Right. They obviously left Rodri on the bench, and they generally only play one of Fernandinho or Rodri in the middle of midfield.
Yeah.
If they played the two of them together, would you have that control? Is Rodri that player?
No, he's not. He's not, Nathan. He's a good all-round player, and he gets it. He's good A to B man, I called him. But he doesn't beat players. He doesn't go past people. Like if you look at his stats, and I don't agree a lot about stats. How many goals does he actually make? How many goals does he score?
Yeah.
You know, like, okay, he gets it and he gives it and he gives it and he gives. But you need somebody in there to really control it. You know, get on the ball. And I mean, the young Chelsea player is the best I've seen. I know whether they put him in the team or not. Billy Gilmore.
Yeah, he hasn't really been involved in the last while.
No, they haven't played him, but he's the best I've seen at doing what's needed to be done. Now, he might be a bit young, they don't want to put him in, but he's the one that has the ability to do it. Jorginho doesn't have that to do it in Chelsea. I mean, again, you get back to Kante. Kante does it in his own way.
Yeah.
You know, he wouldn't do it like a Modric, but he still controls the middle field with his energy and that. But I don't see City. If I had fear for them, if I was supporting them, playing Chelsea, I'd be a bit worried about that position.
Would you worry about the pressure on their shoulders as well? They'd be strong favourites. They've never won the Champions League. It feels as though it'll be the crowning glory of the Pep Guardiola project. Was that one of the reasons for the slow start on Tuesday night? And even in that first leg as well, they gave Paris Saint-Germain plenty of chances.
Well, you wouldn't. They don't normally do it, Nathan, and I wouldn't put it down to the occasion. Definitely not. I don't know why it was, but I wouldn't put it down to the occasion. You know, these guys are experienced professional players now, Nathan, and when you're a professional footballer, these are the things that you have to do. You know, like, there's no point in being a professional footballer if you're playing in, say, well, a big tournament. Oh, you know, I'm a bit scared of this. I mean, the pros that I knew were looking forward to it.
Yeah.
You know, like all professional footballers, myself included, had an attitude that a bit of a show-off attitude, Nathan. Not in a bad way.
The big occasion.
But you look forward to it.
Yeah.
And the attitude was, I want to show people how good I am. But again, not to be selfish, like to be really professional, to do it in the right way. In other words, not nervous about the occasion. You want to be there. You want to do it because that's what when you're a kid, I know myself and all the players I talk, you dream about that when you're a kid.
Yeah.
And funny enough, Nathan, when you're in that occasion of going to Wembley, you don't be there unless you've come through the youth policy. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
You don't suddenly go from being a 14-year-old going into a cup final. You have to have big matches at your level. You know, whether it be the Youth Cup or the playing in the Central League, that where you have to do it. You know, so that's a trend. In other words, you'd be found out before you got a chance of playing in a cup final if you didn't have the temperament to do it.
Yeah. We'll have plenty of time to look ahead to that Champions League final over the coming weeks. We are unfortunately out of time, John. We're going to be doing live commentary of Manchester United-Liverpool next Thursday, so we might chat about what happened at Old Trafford ahead of that next Thursday evening, if that's all right with you.
Yeah. Well done, Nathan.
All right, great stuff, John. We'll talk to you next
Bye-bye.
Thursday. As I say, we'll have that game live, the rearranged Manchester United-Liverpool game on next Thursday night's show. Going to take a quick break, and we got Brian O'Driscoll coming your way after 8 o'clock.
Football on Off the Ball
With Paddy Power. Everything would be better if Wes was back in the team. Gamble responsibly. Gamblingcare.ie.
The Pat Kenny Show.
What's most dismaying, I suppose, is that between yourselves, the council and the Gardaí, that it could not be stopped.
Over 120 people, I believe, attended the event last night, despite what I would say were the best efforts of the council to prevent this. The Garda were well armed. They had a good crew